Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're uncovering a painful truth. What really happens when a narcissist tries to drain an empath? They think they're feeding off soft energy, endless patience and compassion that never runs dry. But what they don't realize is that empaths don't stay broken forever. The same heart they try to exhaust eventually becomes the one force that exposes their weakness. And that's when the agony begins. At first it looks easy for the narcissist. They charm, flatter, and mirror the empath's soul. They study every emotion, every response, every dream. They see the empath's warmth as fuel, something to take, to consume, to use. But they underestimate one thing: the empath's awareness, because no matter how gentle they seem, empaths eventually see what others can't. The emptiness behind the performance. Narcissists are emotional vampires, feeding on reactions. They need chaos, guilt, and attention to survive. The empath, on the other hand, is a healer by nature. They try to fix what's broken, to love what's wounded. But love isn't medicine for manipulation. And soon, the empath begins to feel the weight of imbalance. Something doesn't feel right, even if they can't explain it yet. The empath starts sensing exhaustion that has no source. It's not physical, it's spiritual. Every conversation feels heavy. Every moment feels controlled. The narcissist calls this love, but it's really dependency disguised as affection. The empath starts noticing that they're always giving, and the other person is always taking. That's the moment the draining begins. Narcissists don't drain energy by accident. It's intentional. They know that by keeping you emotionally off balance, confused, apologetic, or guilty, they can stay powerful. The empath's empathy becomes their own trap. They forgive, over-explain, and carry the emotional labor for two. But even compassion has limits, and when those limits appear, the shift begins. The empath begins to wake up. The fog lifts slowly, and they start seeing patterns. The gaslighting, the guilt trips, the silent treatments. What once felt like passion now feels like performance. They realize they've been loving a version of a person that never really existed. That awareness breaks the illusion. And for the narcissist, that's the beginning of agony. You see, when an empath withdraws emotionally, it's not loud, it's silent. There's no fight, no argument, no scene. They just stop reacting. They stop feeding the chaos. That quiet detachment terrifies the narcissist, because for the first time, the empath's energy isn't accessible. The fuel is gone. The narcissist panics. They start pushing buttons, triggering old wounds, begging for attention in twisted ways. They might cry, love bomb, or even play the victim. But nothing works. The empath's intuition recognizes every move. The old tricks feel transparent now. That's when the narcissist feels a kind of panic they can't name. The fear of losing control. Empaths have a secret strength: emotional regeneration. They can be drained, yes, but they can also recover. Once they start healing, their energy shifts. They stop absorbing pain and start reflecting truth. And when that happens, the narcissist's favorite weapon, manipulation, becomes useless. The empath's silence becomes louder than words. Every time they don't respond, every time they stay calm, every time they choose peace over argument, the narcissist feels the loss. Because control only exists when emotion is reactive. And now there's no reaction left to take. For the narcissist, the agony begins not when the empath leaves, but when the empath changes. They no longer provide emotional highs and lows. The narcissist craves intensity, but the empath has learned to value stillness. That inner peace becomes a wall they can't climb. The empath learns that protecting their energy isn't cruelty, it's survival. They start setting boundaries, saying no, and walking away without guilt. Each boundary feels like betrayal to the narcissist, But to the empath, it feels like freedom, and with every boundary, the narcissist's power fades. Narcissists don't understand balance, they understand control. So when the empath becomes self-sufficient, it breaks their reality. They can't handle being unnecessary. Their worst nightmare isn't rejection, it's irrelevance. The empath's healing makes that nightmare come true. They'll try to reattach. Texts, apologies, emotional bait. They'll say you're the only one who ever understood me. But those words no longer hold weight. The empath has learned to translate manipulation into meaning. What once felt flattering now sounds desperate. The narcissist starts to unravel. They can't process the silence. They can't control the calm. Their ego was built on dominance, but now it meets a kind of strength. It doesn't understand quiet strength. They can't argue with it, can't destroy it, can't imitate it. Empaths aren't fighters by nature, but their healing is the ultimate rebellion. They transform pain into wisdom, heartbreak into clarity. They stop bleeding empathy for people who refuse to heal. That transformation is invisible revenge, not out of spite, but out of evolution. The narcissist begins to experience their own emptiness. Without someone to drain, they have to face themselves, and they hate what they see. The empathy they used to control now acts as a mirror, reflecting their own lack of depth. That's where their true agony begins. Every time the empath says nothing, the narcissist hears everything. That silence says, I see you clearly now. It says, you no longer have power here. And no matter how many new people they chase, they can't replace the energy that once came from innocence and trust. They start realizing the empath wasn't weak, they were just loving from a place of truth. The empath's heart wasn't naive, it was sincere, and that sincerity is what the narcissist can never fake. Losing that kind of purity feels like losing access to something divine. The empath, now awakened, becomes an entirely different energy. Strong, calm, unbothered, they speak less, observe more, and protect what's sacred. The narcissist feels this shift like a wound. Their control wasn't stolen, it simply dissolved. And that loss is unbearable. They try to provoke the old version of you, the one that cried, pleaded, explained. But that version no longer exists. You've evolved. They're now facing a person who no longer dances to their rhythm. That's when fear turns to frustration, and frustration turns to pain. The narcissist's new goal becomes getting a reaction, any reaction. Even anger would comfort them, because it proves you still care. But the empath's silence denies them that comfort. Nothing hurts a manipulator more than realizing they've become irrelevant. Empaths don't seek to punish. Their power lies in self-restoration. Every step they take toward healing removes another hook from the narcissist's grip. And when those hooks are gone, the narcissist feels exposed, powerless, and suddenly very, very alone. They'll talk about you, project, twist stories, try to play victim, but their words lose force because your energy has changed. You don't defend yourself, you don't retaliate. Truth doesn't need a defense. Your peace speaks louder than their performance. The empath's glow after healing is painful for the narcissist. They expected destruction, not rebirth. You start thriving, laughing, loving again. And they realize something horrifying. They didn't destroy you. They refined you. Narcissists feed on control, but when the empath heals, they feed on purpose. The empath's focus shifts inward. They start creating, learning, inspiring. Their growth becomes contagious. And the narcissist stuck in stagnation feels the void widen between you. The narcissist's world collapses when they realize they taught the empath everything. Not through love, but through pain. Every manipulation became a lesson. Every insult became motivation. You became wise because they forced you to learn survival. Empaths unintentionally teach narcissists what accountability feels like, not by punishment, but by example. You stop reacting, and the silence forces them to face consequences. It's not revenge, it's reflection. And reflection is their worst enemy. They begin to spiral, trying to fill the emptiness left behind. But every new supply feels shallow. No one gives energy like an empath. They can mimic your care, but they can't recreate your depth. That realization hits like withdrawal from a drug. The empath's quiet healing becomes their loudest power. You don't expose them publicly, you outgrow them privately. Every time you choose peace over chaos, your energy shifts higher. The narcissist feels that shift, and it burns, because peace reminds them of what they'll never have. They start checking your social media, asking mutual friends, trying to measure your healing, but what they see isn't weakness, it's light. They see smiles that aren't forced, joy that isn't performative. It's proof that they never owned your happiness, only borrowed it. For the narcissist, that's the ultimate agony, watching you exist without them. They thought they were the center of your story, but you've rewritten the script, and now they're just a footnote. Your growth is the one thing they can't control or erase. Empaths don't win by fighting harder. They win by no longer fighting at all. The narcissist's energy thrives on resistance, but when you step out of the game entirely, they lose their purpose. The fight they tried to start becomes a monologue. They fear the empath's ability to love again, because it proves that their damage wasn't final. You're not bitter, you're wiser. You trust again, but selectively, and that kind of strength, gentle, discerning, free, terrifies them more than hatred ever could. Every healed empath becomes the narcissist's reminder that pain doesn't guarantee power. They thought they could shape you into submission. Instead, they shaped you into awareness, and awareness is something they can never conquer. Narcissists hate endings. They didn't control, so your quiet departure lingers like unfinished business. They'll replay the story in their head, trying to find where they lost power, but the truth is simple. You stopped participating. That's the moment they lost. Empaths unknowingly teach narcissists that real strength isn't about domination, it's about detachment. You don't need to expose them, you just need to heal. And healing to them feels like exposure anyway. They try to convince themselves they don't care, but the obsession grows. Because deep down, they know they were never truly seen until you saw them. And now that gaze is gone, they crave validation from the very soul they once belittled. The empath's new energy feels foreign to them. They can't replicate it, can't attract it, can't replace it. It's the energy of peace, and peace is poison to their chaos. That's the agony of losing an empath, realizing that calmness doesn't need them. For the empath, the transformation is complete. They no longer seek revenge, closure, or explanation. They simply exist with purpose. Every breath, every boundary, every quiet smile is proof that they turned pain into wisdom and suffering into strength. The narcissist remains trapped in repetition. Every new person, every new story, every new manipulation follows the same pattern. But now, the empath watches from a distance, free, wiser, untouchable. You learned the lesson, they're still repeating it. Empaths don't hate, they understand. You don't wish harm, you simply wish healing, even if it never comes. That grace, that quiet compassion, confuses and terrifies the narcissist, because kindness without weakness is something they can't comprehend. Your peace exposes their chaos, your calmness unmasks their insecurity. Every time you choose quiet confidence over reaction, their control unravels. The roles have reversed. You are now the one who is emotionally untouchable. The narcissist's agony is realizing they can't replace what they destroyed. You gave them depth, patience, and unconditional care. They'll search for it endlessly, but it only existed with you, and it only existed because you were genuine. Empaths heal differently. They don't rebuild who they were, they become someone stronger. You carry scars like wisdom, not wounds. Every painful lesson became part of your power. That transformation is what makes you unstoppable. When the narcissist sees your new peace, it reminds them of their failure. They didn't just lose control, they lost access to light. Your serenity is their punishment, your silence their consequence. You didn't destroy them, you made them face themselves. Empaths rise quietly. They don't announce healing, they embody it. The narcissist notices it in your posture, your tone, your absence of fear. You've transcended the game. And that realization leaves them with the one thing they can't stand: powerlessness. They may never admit it, but they regret underestimating you. They thought empathy meant weakness. Now they know it means strength, awareness, and balance. You were never fragile, you were refining. And now, you're the version of yourself they feared would emerge. So if you're watching this and you've ever felt drained, remember, your energy is sacred. The moment you protect it, you take back every ounce of power they thought they owned. Your peace isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of your freedom. In the end, when a narcissist tries to drain an empath, they create their own agony. Because what they take is temporary, but what the empath becomes is eternal. You rise, you heal, and you never go back. And that transformation, quiet, powerful, unstoppable, is the revenge they'll never understand.